red light cameras. And there's new legislation that's sitting on the table right now that could possibly end those contracts. And so that's kind of where we're at this moment. But you do pay for officers and some public safety items out of there, and so the council felt that it was good to reserve funds in order to continue to pay for those additional officers if that legislation were to come through. It was brought up to do a time capsule, and so that event was held on 10/22 of 2022, and it's located in the City Hall lobby, so if you haven't had an opportunity to go down to City Hall, it's a great little time capsule there, and you can take a look at it there. City events, we took a look at the major city events that take place within our city. We decided to suspend the Soapbox Derby, and in replace of that, we're gonna hold a jazz festival on March 25th of 2023 in the park. It begins at 3 p.m. And we've got a great list of entertainers lined up for that event. The Home Rule Charter amendments, we reviewed those, and all of those amendments passed on November 8th of 2022. And then y'all looked at ARP funds again last year. And the two big things that came out of last year's conversation on the ARP funds was widening the creek, which the council has done a budget adjustment for, and also to pay for the other half of a fire truck. And so the council has allocated funds, and we should be receiving that fire truck. Oh, actually, we received that fire truck already. And so they paid for half of the fire truck out of ARPA funds. Okay, and go to the Google. It's there. All right, so. All right, so at your tables, or when you first came in, you saw an annual report. Just took a glance at your FY 2022 and how your tax dollars was spent in 2022. Go ahead, flip it. That's my little statement, and the council, go ahead. Some quick facts about Leon Valley, but the most interesting thing on this page is the Public Works highlights. And as you can see, Public Works did about 19,000 linear feet of street maintenance programs. And you can see the list of streets in that program. I know it's a little hard to see on the screen, but it is at your place. Public Works did receive about $2 million in grant funds, and they completed about 96% of their, there we go. They completed about 96% of all their service requests. They mowed about 147 acres. They cleaned up, they had 143 cleanups throughout the year in the park. And they hauled off about 348 cubic yards of debris throughout the year. And they also replaced about 2,000 linear feet of water main replacement. Go ahead. And some big highlights for the Public Works Department. I won't read them all, but of course they completed their year 4 and 5 street maintenance projects. They updated the water and sewer GIS maps. They repaired about 28 water main breaks and 76 curb cuts. And then we'll move on to the library. The library had about $44,000 of grant funds awarded. Go ahead. And this takes a look at the breakdown of how many people are visiting the library, how many people are attending the programs. And if you take a look over the course of the years, you can see that some of those numbers have almost doubled. We started receiving about, on average, 84 people for our large programs, and then about 34 people for our day-to-day programs. Go ahead. Some planning and zoning highlights. They issued about 1,200 permits last year. City secretary, she did about 24 agendas. She had 368 open records requests. She completed about 68 ordinances and 44 resolutions. Moving on to the fire department, go ahead. They received about 2,400 service calls. Their average response time was 5 minutes. The fire marshal's office had 1,200 service calls, and then just fire-related calls were about 729. Your EMS was hard at work at 2,000 calls for service, and your MIH had about 2,800 service calls. Oh, MIH is our mobile integrated health individual. He attends a lot of the calls, and if the calls are maybe mental health related or they're reoccurring calls, what happens is sometimes individuals don't have home health care, and so what they end up using our fire and EMS for falls, just to get out of bed, just to get help to go to the restroom. And EMS really shouldn't be used for those types of things, but they can't afford home health care. So our MIH guys tries to make contact with additional family members that may be able to help, or other additional programs that may be out there, so they're not utilizing EMS in that manner. We're moving on to our community relations person, that's Crystal Miranda. Crystal Miranda handles all of our communications. As you can see, she's up here with the camera. She does all our posts on social media, and we've seen a big increase in that and our social media presence. Go ahead. She also she's the one that hosts our 4th of July parade, our tree lighting event. She's the one that's going to be handling our jazz festival, so she handles all of our big, large city events. Moving on to the police department. Police department had 18,000, oops, a little fast there. Go back one. There you go. 18,000 calls for service. They had 651 arrests. They issued about 3,500 citations, 1,400 warnings. The red light camera citations were 54,000. There was a decrease in 33% of traffic crashes last year. 2,000 criminal CID offenses that were investigated, and they completed about 5,000 training hours. On the DEA side of the police department, there were 636 arrests. Your property room completed their audit and are 100% compliant. We held 3 impound auctions, and code compliance addressed about 2,700 incidences last year. Go ahead. Municipal court, they handled about 45,000 transactions, and they scheduled about 1,600 community service hours. And that completes your annual report. There's a lot more detail in there, so I hope you take some time to take a look at it. It is posted on our city website, so if you have a chance, it looks really pretty in color, but it's quite expensive to print in color, so we did not. So at each of your tables, you'll see a QR code. If you hold your camera to it, it'll take you to a Mentimeter. When we get to that portion, which is the last item on the agenda, and I really do hope most of y'all stay for that, we really would like your opinion on some quality of life options that we're looking at using the ARP funds for. And so when you hold your camera to the QR code, it should take you to the Mentimeter link.
Thank you, Dr. Caldera. We're going to move then to agenda item number 2D, which is the latest news on Bandera Road, SH16 25-year redevelopment plan. And Mr. Gardner was not able to be here this morning with us, but has sent a video, and it's about 20 minutes long, and so we'd like to show that. And then again, we have William Long from Posnecki and Camarillo, who is the communications outreach entity for this project. And if we have any questions, we can ask him as well. So, okay, thank you.
Okay. So, of course, TxDOT is conducting a study to identify the design concept on. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Oh, when we get to there, yeah. When I get to that, let them know that the staff is. Yeah. TxDOT is conducting a study to identify a design concept for Highway 16 on Bandera Road 410-16 within the city of Long Valley and San Antonio. The goal of the proposed concepts are to improve mobility, safety, community connectivity, while reducing congestion on State Highway 16 corridor, and to accommodate multimodal transportation, including bicycles and pedestrians.
Welcome to the Texas Department of Transportation, San Antonio District, public meeting of the SH16 Bandera Road feasibility study. This is the third public meeting conducted for the study, and the pre-recorded presentation was developed to inform participants of the viable concepts evaluated and the recommended implementation plan for the Bandera Road corridor. With safety being a priority at TxDOT, I would like to take a moment to share a message. November 7, 2000 was the last deathless day on roadways in Texas. That means for nearly 22 years, at least one person has died every single day. We all have to be part of the play to change that. This message is that reminder to end the streak of deaths on Texas highways. We need drivers and passengers to act more responsibly and help us reach our goal of 0 deaths by 2050. Texas can play a major role in ending fatal crashes with a few simple driving hacks. Wear seatbelts, drive the speed limit, put away the phone and other distractions, and never drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So please do your part and share this message with your friends and family. The environmental review, consultation, and other actions required by the applicable federal environmental laws for this project are being or have been carried out by TxDOT pursuant to 23 U.S.C. 327 and a memorandum of understanding dated December 9, 2019, and executed by the Federal Highway Administration and TxDOT. The public meeting has been convened by TxDOT to share information and to receive and consider comments from the public regarding the SH16 Bandera Road feasibility study. The public meeting is being provided in a virtual format and can be accessed by visiting www.texdot.gov. Then send in your keyword SH16 Bandera Road. Also, the in-person open house option is provided on October 26, 2022 at City Church, which is located at 9431 Bandera Road in San Antonio. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public of the study status and the recommendations based on the study performance to date. To describe the study so the public can determine how they may be effective. To provide the public an opportunity to provide input at this stage in the study. And finally, to develop a record of public views and participation that will accompany the recommendations for subsequent decisions. Bandera Road is a unique and complex corridor that will require a combination of vital concepts to improve mobility and safety. For both the virtual public meeting and the in-person open house, information and analysis has been provided at 5 different stations. We invite you to review this information and provide feedback regarding the study's evaluation of concepts and recommendations. For the in-person open house, a site layout, City Church has been provided near the site table. Station 1 includes background information for the study. TxDOT's feasibility study focuses on Bandera Road between I-410 and Loop 1604. This approximate 6.5-mile study corridor passes through the cities of Leon Valley and San Antonio. Existing Bandera Road typically has 2 to 3 lanes in each direction, and continuous sidewalks and bicycle accommodations are not provided throughout the study limits. TxDOT's feasibility study focuses on improving mobility and safety while reducing congestion. The city of San Antonio is preparing a separate study called Bandera Road Corridor Plan Study, which focuses on land use, economic development, sustainability, and multimodal improvements. The 2 studies have been developed concurrently with a collaborative approach to ensure analysis, feedback, and recommendations are shared. Leon Valley is a participating member in both studies. evaluation process started with an existing conditions assessment to identify corridor issues. This information was presented in December 2019 at the study's first public meeting. In 2020, TxDOT utilized community feedback and the existing conditions assessment to evaluate numerous concepts. In June 2021, these concepts were presented at an online virtual public meeting. TxDOT has continued to evaluate and refine various concepts based on detailed traffic studies and community feedback. For additional information, please visit www.txdot.gov and search the keywords SH16 Bandera Road. Stage 2 includes information regarding forecasted growth. Whether Bandera Road is approved or not, more people are coming to the region. The Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization forecasts that 1.5 million people will move to the region between the years 2015 and 2045. TxDOT forecasts that the traffic demand on the second of Bandera Road will nearly double by the design year of 2047. To address this growth, TxDOT is evaluating adding lanes, improving intersections, and providing bicycle and pedestrian accommodations. Station 3 presents information on potentially viable roadway concepts evaluated by the feasibility study. We will first discuss the at-grade boulevard concept, which was recommended for consideration by the 2018 University of Texas San Antonio study developed for Leon Valley. This concept would provide 3 main lanes and 2 frontage road lanes in each direction, separated by raised medians. The boulevard's proposed typical right-of-way width is 205 feet and will increase up to 270 feet at ramp locations and intersections. The existing right-of-way width along Bandera Road varies, but is typically 180 feet wide. Most ramp configurations were evaluated to optimize operations. Depending on the ramp configuration, the boulevard concept requires 30 to 36 acres of proposed right-of-way need, potentially displacing up to 35 commercial buildings and up to 15 multifamily buildings. The estimated right-of-way cost is approximately $185 to $250 million, and the preliminary construction cost is approximately $235 million. Stage 3 also provides information on a parkway configuration with 4 lanes in each direction divided by a wide center median. This concept increases opportunities for enhanced aesthetic treatments. The study evaluated the parkway concept with improved conventional signalized intersections to optimize signal fading and increase capacity. The typical right-of-way width for this concept was 180 feet, which generally fits within the typical 180-foot wide existing right-of-way. However, at the major intersections, the right-of-way width can increase up to 240 feet. Overall, the parkway concept with improved conventional intersections required up to 10 acres of proposed right-of-way need, displacing approximately 7 commercial buildings. The estimated right-of-way cost is approximately $22 million, and the preliminary construction cost is approximately $185 million. The study also evaluated a parkway concept with signalized restricted crossing U-turn intersections, which are also called R-cut intersections, at major cross streets from Seneca Drive up to Prue Road. R-cut intersections allow left turns from Bandera Road to the cross streets. Through or left turning traffic from the cross streets are required to turn right at Bandera Road and use a downstream signalized U-turn to complete their movement. This innovative configuration reduces the number of signal phases to reduce delay, and they are a proven way to improve intersection safety for vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian users. This concept's typical right-of-way width is also 180 feet, with widening up to 220 feet at intersections. Overall, the parkway R-cut intersections require up to 7 acres right-of-way cost is approximately $18 million, and the preliminary construction cost is approximately $185 million. Even with the operating improvements, the study identified congestion issues at some locations. To minimize traffic travel through the at-grade intersection, the study evaluated a third parkway concept with arc-cut intersections combined with grade-separated lanes from Alberta Road to Gilbo Road. This concept allows segments of the at-grade parkway to be reduced to 3 lanes in each direction. However, multiple access ramps would be required, increasing right-of-way impact compared to the at-grade parkway option. Overall, this concept would require up to 11 acres of proposed right-of-way need, displacing approximately 10 commercial buildings. The estimated right-of-way cost is approximately $25 million, and the preliminary construction cost could be up to $410 million. Ongoing operations and maintenance costs would be required for structures and for air fire suppression devices and drainage pump stations in the depressed segments. This concept would also require complex construction methods, resulting in the longest construction duration. Station 3 includes exhibits comparing the 4 potentially viable build concepts and the no-build concept. The no-build concept means that no improvements would be constructed to Bay Area Road. 6 different categories were defined: safety, traffic operations, community and socioeconomic impacts, bicycle and pedestrian accommodations, study costs, and construction impact. This evaluation is preliminary and subject to change. For traffic operations, 2 metrics considered include the year 2047 total demand met and total traffic throughput. The percent of the total demand met reflects how much of the year 2047 peak period traffic can access Bandera Road. Unmet demand typically seek alternative routes due to excessive delay and queuing. Total throughput is the amount of peak period traffic that passes through the study corridor. For each of these operational measures, the Archive Parkway grade separation provided the largest overall capacity to meet the year 2047 forecasted traffic demand. The at-grade parkway with Archive concept showed the second greatest operational performance. Both concepts significantly outperformed the no-build, boulevard, and at-grade parkway with conventional intersection concepts. Additionally, the year 2047 traffic model allowed the study team to evaluate travel times for the major traffic patterns. Overall, the Archive Parkway with grade separation concept provided the fastest travel times. This was followed by the at-grade parkway with Archive intersection. These 2 concepts showed significant travel time savings when compared to the other concepts. As part of the high-level thoroughfare planning analysis, TechStop evaluated 15 city street network connectivity improvements, focusing on their traffic impacts to Bandera Road. No specific city street alignments or neighborhood impacts were evaluated by TechStop. The traffic benefits varied, but the analysis showed that all connectivity improvements would help reduce traffic on Bandera Road. This information was shared with the cities of San Antonio and Leon Valley. Please note that these city streets are not under TechStop jurisdiction, and any city street connectivity improvements would need to be supported, studied, and developed by the cities of Leon Valley or San Antonio. Station 4 provides information regarding the recommended implementation plan for improving the Bandera Road corridor. Based on the analysis and feedback received to date, the recommended roadway concept is the at-grade parkway with Archive intersection. This concept substantially improves traffic operations while minimizing costs and right-of-way impact. Additionally, the crash rate on Bandera Road is 4 to 7 times higher than the statewide average for similar roadways. Archives reduce bicyclists, and pedestrians, and they are proven to reduce crashes by up to 50%. Due to the traffic speeds and volumes on Bandera Road, continuous shared use paths for bicyclists and pedestrians are recommended. ADA-compliant crosswalks would be provided, signalized intersections, and, where feasible, at back-to-back signalized R-cut U-turns. The shared use paths are located outside and along the roadway within TxDOT's right-of-way. Station 4 includes information regarding the shared use paths and potential connections to existing and proposed trails, paths, and bike lanes in the area. Additional safety and operational improvements can be provided through enhanced access management, which would reduce conflict points along the corridor. TxDOT is recommending to consolidate driveways where feasible, reduce the number of non-signalized median openings, remove the traffic signals at Cox Road and Reindeer Trail, and to coordinate the operation of the El Verde Road intersection with adjacent R-cut intersections while maintaining direct access for emergency services. And finally, during the schematic environmental phase, TxDOT will work with stakeholders to identify opportunities for corridor placemaking and aesthetic enhancements. Station 4 includes an exhibit depicting potential placemaking and aesthetic examples. However, it should be noted that corridor enhancements within TxDOT's right-of-way must meet TxDOT guidelines and may require participation by the cities of Leon Valley and San Antonio. Station 4 includes a conceptual layout of the recommended improvements, including the proposed intersection configurations, number of lanes, access configurations, shared use paths, and preliminary right-of-way needs. This concept is preliminary and it will change as the project progresses through schematic design, drainage studies, environmental studies, and the ongoing public involvement. Station 5 provides information regarding study next steps and opportunities to comments. TxDOT will review the public meeting feedback and respond to written comments. TxDOT will also coordinate the public meeting feedback with the cities of San Antonio and Leon Valley. If the cities support the recommended improvements, TxDOT will develop a design schematic, drainage study, and environmental studies. This final phase of the study is anticipated to conclude by the end of 2024. TxDOT will continue community outreach efforts throughout the remainder of the study. There is currently no funding dedicated to improving SH16 Bandera Road. During the schematic and environmental phase, TxDOT will begin coordination with regional partners to identify funding opportunities for the preferred build implementation plan. Right-of-way acquisition and utility relocations would not begin until after approval of the design schematic and environmental studies. Construction statement and timeline have not yet been identified. Your feedback and comments are an important part of TxDOT's planning process. You can comment online through the virtual public meeting website. You may also submit a written comment via email to banderoroad@potsdam.com. Additionally, you may download the comment form from the virtual public meeting website and submit a written comment via U.S. mail to the address provided on this slide. At the in-person open house, you may submit written comments on the provided comment forms or through the provided court reporter. Questions or comments may be submitted to the SH16 Bandera Road study team at any time during study development. However, to be included in the official public meeting record, all comments must be postmarked or received by Thursday, November 10, 2022. Response to comments received during the public comment period will be documented and made available for public review on the project website at www.txdot.gov, keyword SH16 Bandera Road. This concludes our presentation. We invite you to review the information regarding the study and evaluation of concepts and recommendations. We sincerely appreciate everyone's time and interest on the Bandera.
So I know the day passed, and so if y'all do have comments on what you saw here today, you can send them to me. I'll leave my cards up where Angela's at, and we'll be more than happy to send those over to TechStop. And William is here, so we do have a couple of minutes if you would like to have him make any comments in regards to this item. There are microphones at the end, or you can raise your hand, and Ms. Possibly will meet you over there.
Good morning. The one question I had for consideration was, there was a comment about El Verde and an R-cut. Isn't that an area where we've had severe flooding in the past? And I would hate to see something like an R-cut done where we end up with a situation that happens on North of Brock Falls every time it floods on your way to Fort St. If anybody's familiar with that.
I'll just note it, bring it to the next meeting, yeah. I don't have the answer to that.
We will make note of that and send that over to them. We've got a,
Bandera Road only floods when we have a severe flood incident. In my experience, it's only flooded twice in the past 30 years. And so we're pretty safe from that. In addition to that, the LC-17 project that widened Kingner Creek has made a significant difference in the amount of flooding that we've had in that area. And then the city is also working on a project right now to widen Kingner Creek in that exact area. So it should be pretty safe.
We have it ready.
Thank you. I didn't see any, hi, Lalani Mercado.
Yes.
I did not see any studies on the socioeconomic impact on the businesses on the Bandera corridor. I know with the boulevard, that was really considered because they didn't want a flyaway because that would really impact our city. Remember, our businesses need to be accessible and our communities need to be accessible. So have we done a study of the socioeconomic impact on that? On how it'll affect our businesses? I mean, they're not doing well right now, so would this make it worse?
William, did we do an economic development study, do you know?
Not sure.
Okay, we're gonna have to get back with you. I know we took a look at, economic development when we looked at other concepts on the flyover.
Right.
But we didn't take a look at, I don't know if we took a look at it with this new plan, which normally, they do as we get closer to solidifying whatever plan they're going to pick. So there was various options as you heard, and it looks like it's being narrowed down to that one. So normally once they pick an option, that's what follows.
Just a question on the bike lanes and the sidewalks, 'cause I don't see any detail there. But are those bike lanes gonna be taking up sidewalk space, or will they be actually bike lanes delineated on the road? And is there gonna be enforcement of bicyclists who do not comply with the lights? Making left, and then what about left turn lanes for bicyclists?
So, the bicycle lanes, TxDOT is looking at purchasing easement rights in order to fit those bike lanes in. So they will be on the edge of the plan as you saw. And then any law is enforceable. So, yes, to answer that question, I'd just like to add.
But I do wanna ask, what are the bicyclists' rights as bicyclists? Do they have the same rights as motor vehicles? And if that's so, can they make a left turn lane? Can they make a left turn in the middle of traffic?
That's a cheap question. Yeah, I don't know. I was just gonna say that these bicycle lanes from 410 to 1604 will be protected. They will have a protection from the cars. And that's what I think is so unique. And people can, get to Bandera Road on foot and go to, businesses safely. Now, again, this is long term, but I think that's a real positive. Chief, okay, and I didn't know if William Long knew something. He's very involved in bicycles as well. So Chief, go ahead.
Bicycles are regulated by bicycles are regulated by the transportation code, just like motor vehicles. However, they have their own section. On a bicycle, you do have to follow traffic laws.
Okay, so my question is the left turn lane. Can they cross from a bike path on the right side of the road over and make a left turn lane from the left lane signal?
Say
And are
that
they
again.
gonna cross 3 or 4 lanes of traffic to get over there?
Okay. The bicyclist has to be aware of traffic. If you're going to cross that many lanes, just like if you were in a vehicle, you have to watch what you're doing. I would not recommend crossing without paying attention to your surroundings.
But it's not illegal for them to cross 4 lanes of traffic.
Did you have something to add, William?
If they are on the bike path, correct?
No, if they're either on the bike path or if they wanna move out into the traffic lanes.
If you're on the roadway, you have to follow the road regulations. If you're on a bike path, it's a different circumstance.
So nothing prevents bicycles from being on a regular roadway. They don't have to use the bike lane. They can be on a regular road.
Okay.
Is
that what he
There
was-
you go.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, I
William.
just wanted to,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, any other, so we're kind of winding down on some time, go ahead. We'll take 2 more questions.
So why make a bike lane then? If you're not required, why make it? And percentage wise, when you have the amount of cars going from 410 to 1604, and you go put in bike lanes, how many people are gonna ride bikes logistically going up that same path as opposed to cars? Why waste the money, why waste the space? If
So,
they're gonna use the regular roads anyway.
great, so a multimodal, transportation is really big and it's required. We have to put in multimodal, transportation, and so we have to have bike lanes, you have to have, regular thoroughfares. But it is a protected lane, and so a lot of people that use bicycles will use the protected lane. There are some, adrenaline junkies that may not and would try to make it through Bandera Road, but most bicyclists will use the protected bike lane. Last question.
Yes, so has there been studies to support Bandera Road at the end of to support the exits to the existing, or in other words, are you guys creating a bottleneck at the end of at the end? So in other words, you're supporting all this in the middle, that as you're coming to the exit, wherever you're going, is it gonna create a backflow?
It should not. So the whole idea of this concept is to create more of a traffic flow. If you ever try to ride Bandera Road at 5:00 p.m., there's a lot of people that are trying to get from 410 to 1604, but most of those people along Bandera Road, which we found from a traffic study, were trying to exit like Grissom Road, Keebner, Eckert. All of those lanes you'll still be able to get out on those main thoroughfares.
So there won't be a bottleneck, in other words.
That's what they're trying to.
That's what they're trying to. That's what they're trying to improve
And
currently.
also we're, cars with big rigs, in other words, we're sharing the road with pedestrians, you know?
Right.
That's a big factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
One more comment, just one. Is there examples of the arc cut in other cities?
William, are there examples of an arc cut in other cities like similar to ours? I know that they brought up one.
That we can see.
It's on the text, it's on the TxDOT website.
Okay. It's on.
Yeah, SH16. I think they show.
No, she wants to see one in real life. They're
Go to
real-
281.
In another city.
In another city. William's gonna take a look and see if we can get that to you.
Thank you.
We have to move on to the next item. There is citizens to be heard at the end of the meeting, and we'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions.
I think there's an arc cut at Fredericksburg and Medical. That's an arc cut.
I don't know. We have to take I'll have William get back to her and
281.
and,
281.
yeah, maybe 281, Bulverde Road area. Okay.
Okay. Let me just introduce this next. Great questions. Thank y'all so much. It's an exciting project, and we'll see how it continues this year. Agenda item 2E, emergency preparedness. How to better prepare when you lose water and electricity. And we have Chief Michael Naughton here this morning to present. Chief?
Thank y'all. You know, this topic came up, I think it had to do with some of the recent events over the last 3 years and some personal events that have happened with the mayor. You know, will you go up one more slide?
Chief, speaking to the mic.
Yes.
You can take it off, Chief. Yeah. You're a lot taller than I am. So they're all for short people because that's my height.
Go up one.
One more. There you go.
Okay.
So as a community, you know, we have to be prepared. And being prepared isn't me being prepared, it's you being prepared. I know it sounds odd for us to say that, but as a fire department here in Leon Valley, we can't come to every single house in the event of one of these emergencies. And if you look at the years that we put up there, we put 2020, 21, and 22. But think of the things that have happened in those 3 years. We had the pandemic. We had snow again. We had more freezes. We had flooding in July, major flooding in July. And all of these things disrupted service. And the services that get disrupted the most are water and electricity. They really are. And so when we talk about being prepared, I just want to make sure I cover them all. Freezing, weather, snow, ice for several days. You know, these aren't things that we're used to in South Texas. They're huge events. And, you know, I don't think on a whole any of us planned to have freezing weather for 5 days. None of us did. But let me just by a show of hands, how many of you have water stored in your house?
I will not.
So when we talk about these things, if your power goes out or your water goes out, you have to be prepared for that. It's not always the giant flood. It's not snow again. It's a broken water main. It's a blown transformer that takes out your neighborhood. And we have to plan for that. And one of the things that the fire department has up on their website is we have a bunch of links that go to several things that you can use. We go over a couple. One more. A couple things that we can use when we have these outages. We have a link to FEMA that tells you how to prepare a home preparedness kit. You know, one of the things that's on there, and again, it doesn't have to be a major catastrophe, is water. You're supposed to have 1 gallon of water for every person for every day that you're planning. And 1 gallon of water is enough to keep you alive. It may not meet all of your sanitary needs. You're probably not going to take a shower with 1 gallon of water, but it's enough to keep you going. How many of you lost power or water during snow again? I didn't have either for 6 days. I don't live here, but I didn't have it for 6 days. And I was prepared for that. I have water, I have food, I have those things. And we all as individuals, including me, have to prepare for that. How many of you, I don't want you to raise your hand because I can't ask this officially, but how many of you have a medical condition or a problem that requires you to have electricity? Whether that's CPAP, whether that's an oxygen concentrator, or some other device. If you have that, you have a plan for when the power goes out. If you're electricity dependent, do you have a generator? Do you have some place that you can get in your car and go and stay if that happens? Same with your water. You know, do you have a place that you can go? When we think about floods, when we think about water being taken out, we think about electricity going out, is it you? Is it your neighborhood? Or is it a large grid issue? CPS provides an outage map. And you can go to CPS, like I just can't if you don't have power, but you can do it on your phone. CPS has an outage map that you can go to and look at and see how much power around you is out. Is it a local issue? You know, I'm the only person on the transformer for my house. It's just me. So if my power's out, maybe it's just me. But if you go back into the forest somewhere, the forest area, and there's a transformer blown, I promise you, that's going to be 10 houses, 20 houses. You know, we had, when the mayor was out of water, we found out the next morning by watching the news that there were 700 homes without electricity, and some of those were in Leon Valley. Nobody told us. We don't know. But are you ready to handle those things? And some of the things that I would encourage you to think about, there's also, besides the CPS map, there's a SAWS map if a water main breaks. You know when water mains break? Is when it's hot and dry. It's not during the floods, it's when it's hot and dry and the ground shifts. Those are unplanned events. You can have water 1 second and not have water the next second. We all need to be prepared for that. Cases of drinking water, 5-gallon buckets, whatever, but think about some of the other things that you may need if you don't have water or electricity. How about a cell phone charger? You know they make battery-powered cell phone chargers. How about anything else that has to be charged up beside your cell phone? That'd be the only thing I need. But your CPAP machines, your oxygen concentrators, some of those have batteries in them. Do you have spare batteries? I will tell you one thing that we did in the fire department after Snowmageddon is we have now what we call community oxygen. In the event of a drastic emergency, if you're oxygen dependent, you normally have an oxygen cylinder, a small portable oxygen cylinder. We can fill those in the event of an emergency. I can't do long term, I can't think about this. If you're oxygen dependent, I can't take my oxygen bottle off my ambulance and leave it at your house. I can't. Most people don't realize that. I can't do that with a generator as well, because I have to use them. So you should have these things, but if you're oxygen dependent, you know, there's some things you can do. You can call City Public Service Board, and you can tell them that you are medically needy, and they'll identify your meter as one that needs to be turned back on quicker. They actually have that service. But we can fill community oxygen. That was paid for out of CARES money. I believe the first round of CARES money, when we had people that couldn't get out. But are you all prepared for, the main thing is to be individually prepared for no water, no electricity. And it does say gas on here, but I'll tell you that gas is the last thing that goes out. Natural gas is the last thing that ever goes out. It doesn't do you much good if your house is gas driven, if you don't have electricity to turn the blower in the heater, it doesn't work. Think about Snowmageddon. Again, it's an isolated thing, but think about that. You didn't have power, you didn't have water. The other thing you were cold. Did you have blankets? Did you have a way to stay warm? And in all of this, don't just think about you, think about your pets. Dogs need water, cats need water, whatever other animal you have needs water, needs food. So please don't forget about your pets when you're planning on this. I just wanted to talk about how to be prepared. You got to kind of understand what your outage is and how long it's anticipated to be. We don't know that. We just don't. You know, you could look at the weather and they say, we're going to have a cold snap for a day. and it turns into 6 days. They don't tell you it's gonna snow. In San Antonio, I know we have people outside of San Antonio here, but San Antonio, you get a 16th of an inch of snow and the city shuts down. It absolutely shuts down. But make a disaster kit, if you want to call it that. Put it in the bottom of your closet, your food pantry. Stack up some water. Stack up some non-perishable food. But if you're, think about it, if you're going to have cans of stuff, what's the other thing you need? A can opener. You got to have a can opener. How about a portable radio? I know that it's not, nobody has portable radios anymore, but how else are you going to get information? But an AM, FM radio or something, a support network, your family, friends. Do you have a place to go? If you don't have water, you don't have electricity, the quickest, easiest thing, if it's able to be done, get your car and go to somebody else's house that has this, and stay with them until the problem's over. Not everybody has that ability. But things that you need to have in your disaster supply kit is water, the biggest thing you need. A gallon per person per day for several days for drinking and sanitation. Food, you should have food stacked up, whether that's, for the military folks having a case of MREs, or having some sort of readily consumable food that doesn't require additional water or additional electricity to make it palatable. Flashlights, first aid kits, enough medicine, a manual can opener, cell phone chargers, pet food. And in the end, I'll do questions in just one second. In the end, we have to prepare. We as individuals have to prepare. If there's an emergency that's going to affect everybody in this room that lives in Leon Valley at one time, think of how thin the resources will be spread to respond to your specific emergency. Your specific emergency. So you have to prepare yourself. We ask you to. Well, you call, we'll come. Don't get me wrong on that, but I don't have a way to bring you 100 gallons of water and drop it off at your house in the event that your pipes freeze. I don't. We all have to be reliant. And I will just say, it's not in any of the slides or anything, but if you're an able-bodied person, male or female, and you have somebody that's not so able-bodied next to you, across the street or behind you, help those people out, check on them, do whatever. I know that I have enough to help my neighbors if need be. My neighbor's 90, I check on him all the time. I think he's in better shape than me, but I check on him all the time. We're a community, we have to help each other. There's nothing wrong with having an extra case of water on the floor that you can give to somebody that's in need, or help somebody out, or take them a blanket, but check on them. Don't leave your neighbors just be. That's really all I have. I'll be here. If you have questions or you need help in understanding any part of this rambling that I just did, I'll be in the back. All of this information is on the fire department's website. And you can click on any of these links. The big one that I would go to is the ReadyGov. That's FEMA. This is national. Everybody gets the same thing. It tells you where to go, what to do, how to plan, how to be prepared. All of those things. The CPS outage map, the SAWS outage map. I always want to know, is mine the only house with no electricity? It usually is. But you can find all these things. Our website is on the very top line. The Red Cross is there. We work closely with the Red Cross every time there's a disaster, every time there's a fire. We call in the Red Cross. So we do this stuff already, but there's the information there. If you have any questions, I have just a couple seconds. If not, I'll be in the back of the room.
I just have a suggestion, because this happened to me when I was in California. I looked by a condo was Howard during one of the storms in Southern California before Christmas. The one thing that was a big help to me were matches and fat candles. So I didn't have to worry about fire. But, you know, a flashlight won't last for 3 hours if it's on, but candles will if you get a big fat one for an emergency.
One behind you,
So
Sandra.
that's in the kit. The ReadyGov /kit talks about candles specifically. I just warn you about candles or any open flame in your house. This is an excellent point. Any open flame in your house, if you bring in a kerosene heater, a Coleman stove or something, Bert's shaking his head no. You know, those consume the oxygen out of the room. And every winter, we all see this. You just watch the news, and it doesn't happen every day. But you have a whole family dying of carbon monoxide from a misfunctioning heater, or they lit their oven to stay warm or do something. It's an asphyxiant. You really don't want that to happen. But that's a good point, candles.
Do you have any plans, or I don't know if there's anything within the city, do you have CERT or community, the CERT training, which is you're familiar with that?
Yeah.
And because I'm certified in that, and I've seen it work in other communities where I've lived. And the other thing is, I'm also a Red Cross volunteer, and I'd encourage everybody here to at least look into getting some of that training, because you never know when you'll be able to help. And sometimes you may need that help back someday. So CERT training and also Red Cross is what I recommend also.
So the city has had a CERT program in the past through Bexar County. And the county CERT program has kind of weakened over the last 3 or 4 years. They lost most of the leadership in it, and they are trying to build it back up right now. We're in contact with the CERT team for San Antonio that does all the training, and I think within the next 2 years, they're going to come back and start training again.
Chief, can you tell them what CERT stands for?
Citizens Emergency Response Team, I believe. Something like that. But basically, a CERT team are civilian helpers that go out and assist in disasters, whether that's checking on people, helping with rescue if a tornado were to go through here, checking houses, looking for victims, doing things like that, working at a triage spot or something. But it's citizens that come together with a little bit of training and help.
And most of your department head staff has been CERT certified. So like myself, I think Melinda, Sandra, we all have our CERT certificate. We went through it when the program was active. And some former council members, I think, participated in that as well.
Chief, I have a question. Do we still have a partnership with John Marshall to set up an emergency facility there for people that would go there in the case of emergency, for cots, for sleep and food and stuff like that?
So the agreement is not with John Marshall. The agreements we have are with Bexar County.
Okay, and they
Because
use John Marshall facility.
If the county decides that's where they're going to do it, the county sets all that stuff up through their partnerships. We fall under Bexar County for emergency management. We're not, the city of Leon Valley doesn't manage its own giant emergency management stuff. If it's something that affects all of San Antonio, which we're in the middle of, it's Bexar County that runs and regulates that. They set up shelters. They set up all of these things because, frankly, we don't have staff to do that.
I don't know what survival food tastes like, but I do know there are things in the grocery store, like I buy tuna in a pouch, you buy chicken in a pouch. There are a lot of things in the grocery store, if you look, you can find something, you don't need a can opener.
You know, any non-perishable food that you can open up and eat is what I'm talking about when I talk about this food. Whether it's tuna or chicken in a pouch, whether it's ravioli if you don't mind eating it cold, but non-perishable. And remember that if the power's out, your ice boxes and freezers aren't running. But I can tell you during Snowmageddon, mine never changed temperature. And anything I wanted cold, I just put outside. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just want to ask, how safe are the generators as far as the carbon monoxide? Because I've been looking to get one, and my daughters have told me that sometimes the carbon monoxide comes in.
So a generator is absolutely safe. It doesn't matter what kind it is, what it runs off. Don't put it in your house and don't put it in your garage. It goes out in the yard. And you run a power cord in. But a generator is absolutely safe. Anything that consumes or burns a fuel is probably not a good long-term thing to keep in your house. If you have a Coleman stove and you set it on top of your stove and warm up a can of soup, you're okay. You're okay. But you can't leave that thing run for 24 hours. But just to heat something up in the house, it's fine. Again, I don't want to get off our time track.
I appreciate that.
I'll be right back
We do need
here.
to move on, so thank you so much. These are all great questions, and
he's
she will be available
I'll
for
be in the
additional
back.
questions, just so we can kind of stay on just a few minutes behind schedule, but we're doing great. So let me introduce, yes, let's the words of wisdom. Thank you. I'm going to go out and get some stuff. Okay. Moving then to agenda item number 2F. Leon Valley Historical Society's annual report and concerning the Huebner Onion Homestead. And we have Kathy Hill, the president of the society, here this morning. I keep saying this evening because I'm so used to night meetings. This morning to present, and welcome. We're so glad you're here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Kathy Hill, and I'm the president of the Leon Valley Historical Society. And I guess
She's gonna change the slides, so just tell her next and she'll change them for you.
Okay, so next. So for those of you who might be new to us, the mission of the Leon Valley Historical Society, we are a volunteer nonprofit organization, and we are dedicated to promoting awareness and appreciation of our history, our natural history, and of our culture and our traditions here in Leon Valley, and also the surrounding area. We're also looking to how do we fit into Bexar County and South Texas as the area developed over the last, 150, 200 years, something like that. Next. Our immediate objective is the preservation and restoration and development of the Huebner Onion Homestead and the complex. We have a barn and a cookhouse and there's a pigeonniere and some parkland next to the homestead that are all part of the complex. And we're special in that regard. We're not just an old historic home, but we have these ranch buildings that are also historic and that tell a bigger story. We were incorporated in 1973 as the Leon Valley Pageant Association. So this year, we actually celebrate our 50th anniversary. And I just think that it's really cool that a community like us can support an organization that is dedicated to telling our story, to telling our history, to preserving it. And I want to thank everybody who's been involved with us over the years for helping us to do that, because it's not just me and it's not just a couple of people on the board. It's a big effort. There have been a lot of people in this room that have been involved. And I just want to thank everyone who has been. We've assisted in designating numerous historic sites in our area. And we also work on the Ken and Esther Alley Historical Collection of the Leon Valley Public Library. Next. So what did we do in 2022? Well, we introduced some new opportunities for the public to be involved with us and to enjoy our site at no cost. And these were very well received and well attended, and we're looking to do them again this year, and even to try to expand, maybe offer a couple of other opportunities. So the first thing we did was a spring break open house on March 20th, next. And we had animal encounters for the kiddos to come out and pet some bunnies and even handle some snakes and some ducks and a bearded like gecko lizard. Yeah. And we played games. We did a little like cornhole toss, and I believe we had the antique cars, and we had paletas and soft drinks for the kids. And it just was a nice day and a fun way to spend some time outside. Then in April, we partnered with the Leon Valley Public Library, and we did a story time at the homestead, and Regina came out, and she picked some fun stories, variations on the Three Little Pigs. And so for parents and their kids, they came out next. I think there's some photos. Yes, there's Regina with her, is that a ukulele? So there were songs, there were stories, it was very interactive, it was really fun. She did variations on the Three Little Pigs. There were different little stories that she did, and even taught the kids some sign language, and so it was really fun. It went fast, it was like an hour, but she kept things moving, and she even had a little activity for the kids to do. So it was really fun, and it was great to be able to partner with the library in that way. We did a trick-or-treat at the homestead on October 29th. We had kids of all ages come out in their costumes. I know some folks got really dressed up, and they got story hour. Again, Regina was out there on the front porch, and she was reading She was reading ghost stories that are the stories about the homestead that the previous owners will tell you about themselves, experiences that they had. So these have been documented in some books, and she was reading those stories out to the kids. And then we had a piñata, and I think we did, what else did we do? I think we had like a Name That Farm implement kind of game for kids, and then there was candy and stuff. So it just was fun. It was something else for people to be able to do. We saw folks who just said they were passing down Bandera Road, and they saw something happening at the homestead, and they turned around and came out to check it out and see what's going on. So that's what we want to see. That's what we want to do. Next, please. December 16, we had our second annual holiday open house. That's really fun. It was cold this year, so we're going to have to prepare for that better in future years. Our entertainer was very cold out on the porch, but he was a real trooper about playing. And we had tamales and we had hot apple cider for people. So it was a nice, fun way to kind of, enjoy the holiday season and enjoy the lights at the homestead. Next. We did fundraising during the year as well. So we had our Homestead Under the Stars event. It's always in the spring. This year will be April 15th, and this will be our 50th anniversary celebration. We had the St. James Gate Irish Band, and delicious food, and just a nice way to spend a day in nice, beautiful spring weather out at the homestead. Next. We do a 5K. Every year. It gets bigger every year. The city is a tremendous help to us in putting this event on. We have about 140 people that participated this last year, and they don their red, white, and blue and come out, for the spirit of the day. We start early in the morning at 7:30. And this year we had more children participating than in previous years. It's free for kids under 12 if they don't want to get a t-shirt, but everyone gets a medal for participating. Next. Then in November, we had our Pioneer Bleaching Gala, and I was so busy with that I didn't take any pictures of the people that came. But we hold it at the community center every year. The city is kind and works with us on waiving some of the fees involved with that, and so it's a nice, true fundraiser for us. And we had the Tudormeisters out this year, and they were really fun. Next. The other thing we did this year was we hired a consultant and a grant writer. we found this young woman. She's a veteran, military veteran, and she's in San Angelo. She's quite knowledgeable on nonprofits in general, but she's interested in history in particular. And so she's worked with us on identifying sources of grant money for the projects at the homestead. And she's given us a recommended timeline for what grants to go after and when. She is a grant writer herself, so we have budgeted some money to hire her to actually write some grants for us. And then she made some other recommendations for us in terms of things that we can do for fundraising. She worked with us on how to improve our profiles on these nonprofit sort of websites where they have a list of all the nonprofits, and it's up to you as a nonprofit to provide information like your tax forms and who's on your board and what are your bylaws, what are your policies, and they rank you so that individuals can then go to these websites and look to see, is this a nonprofit organization? Are they in fact a nonprofit? Do they have a history of providing their financial information? How transparent are they? And they rank you in this way. So she's helping us to get ourselves up from the silver level to the gold level. So we're very pleased about that. Next. Another big thing for us this past year was just getting electricity into the homestead. For the longest time, we were out at the meter pole with extension cords and and lots of splitters to get our power. And so now we have a nice breaker box inside the house. And so it's not exactly a sexy picture, but we got super excited about it. Next, please. We also have a new historian with us this year, Ruth Lyle, who's been on our board for a number of years. She's pictured just to the right of Commissioner Rodriguez. And she's taken the place. Carol Paz has retired from that job. She's our historian for years and years. And Ruth Lyle has very kindly stepped up to fill that role. And I just love this picture because it reminds me too of our friend Barbara Fryer, who was our treasurer, and we lost her during the COVID pandemic. But it's always nice to see her face. So just a little reminder for some of you that this is what we used to look like. This is what it used to look like on Bandera Road. And next, and this is kind of where we are now. So we have made improvements, but it is a long process. And it has been a long process. It's a labor of love, and it takes a lot of dedicated, committed people to help us out with this. And so if you are interested, we would love to have you be involved with us. You can check us out at our website. You can volunteer, or you can just get more information. We hope you will. I'll stick around. Yes, ma'am.
So question I've never, because I was always wondering, where do you park? on Bandera Road?
Yeah, you do. Parking is a challenge for us always, and what we do is the city is very kind and they allow us to use the parking lot at City Hall, and then we have we hire an off-duty Leon Valley officer to be at the crosswalk and to help people get across. So we always tell people that. And there have been events when we've had big crowds where we have arranged for like shuttle transportation, yes. And so, as our attendance, if our attendance grows and we can justify that, then that would be something we'd be happy to look at. For people who have limited mobility, there is room to drop someone off right at the front gate, but yeah, there's no parking. Any other questions?
Kathy, thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you all very much.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. And thank you for showing us the before picture. I forgot how ugly it was.
I'd like to remind you.
So y'all done a great job.
We know we've got a ways to go, but we have come a long way, and I just want to remind people that we have come a long way. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. All righty. We are now moving then to agenda item 2G, spending priorities for the 1.6 million remaining funds from the American Rescue Plan, ARP funds, and
I'm coming.
yeah, I'm gonna say, and ranking amenities to include a potential skate park, pool repairs, pickleball, and more. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Caldera so she can guide you through how to get on the Mentimeter, and then she has a PowerPoint presentation this evening, this morning as well. Thank you. You can tell I'm a night person here. Okay. Excuse me. Thank you, Dr.
All right, so for those of you that have a QR code at your table, you can use your camera function. If you go to your camera, it should pop up a link. You click your link and it should take you there. For those of you that function does not work, if you go to www.menti.com, that is MENTI.com, and you use the code 37507563, if you just type in that code. If you are having trouble, please raise your hand. I have staff available to help you. Roka, there's some over there at that table.
What should be the first slide?
The one that's up right now, people are already voting. Oh, the first slide should say American Rescue, and then if you go to the next slide, it'll be the age.
Oh, it said age first. That was only one.
Okay. So it should be. Oh, you're at the very end. You just scroll to the go up. Raise your hand if you need help. Where's the staff? Regina? Somebody needs help up here in the front? If you need help, please raise your hand. I don't want to move on until we've got everybody kind of logged in. If you can't get the QR code again, you can go to www.menti.com, and then you just type in the code 37507563. If you're still having trouble, if you raise your hand, Regina's waiting to help somebody. It looks like some people are already putting their age down. This Mentimeter will be live on our city website for the next couple of days. So it'll be up for the next subsequent week. It'll be available to you, so you can let your fellow neighbors know that this survey is available online, this PowerPoint presentation. Yes. Up at the top, www.menti.com. It'll ask for a code. And then you can click submit. It is www.menti.com. And then it'll ask for a code. You put in the code and click submit. Okay, it looks like we're getting quite a bit of voters in already. It looks like people are logged in. No. Not yet, okay. Regina, up here, these people, where Roka is at, need some extra help. I'm just giving y'all 30 more seconds, and then we gotta move on.
Some people need to double tap on the selection for it to choose.
Okay, so some people may need to double tap on the selection for it to actually choose. Okay, so the code again is 37507563.
No, that's your Mexico.
Okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. You can continue to vote. The next question is, what is the highest level of education you have? You should be able to go on to your next slide and click. There we go. And you can, some people will jump ahead and start voting, that's fine. This survey will be available of the upcoming weeks. We will get a total and present those totals to the council. What is your highest level of education?
I didn't, I always turned down the bottom.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide. Again, you can continue to vote if we're moving a little too fast. How long have you lived in Leon Valley? We got some Leon Valley lifers. How long have you lived in Leon Valley? Oh, wow. A lot of you lived here 20 plus years. Okay, go on. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Why do you live in Leon Valley? Is it the convenient location, the school district? Did you grow up here? Do you love our police, fire, and library? Do you like the great amenities like the pools and the park? Why? No, you just the most important one to you. We're in a lot of convenient locations. The police and fire department are going to cry, guys.
San Antonio.
Okay, go ahead, go to the next slide. How many people under the age of 18 reside in your household? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 7? Oh, I should have put a 0, sorry. So yeah, you can, it's fine. It'll just have less voters. It'll just have less voters. So if you don't have any, my apologies. If you have a 0, don't vote on this question. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide. Alright, so your ARPA funds, guys. Your ARPA funds that we have, utilize those funds. We have bought 911 mass text notification. A lot of y'all received a robocall last night reminding y'all about that's part of this mass 911 system. We also have My Leon Valley app. If those of you that download apps, I would encourage you to download the app. You can now take a picture and submit your a code violation, a pothole, if you have any issues. The app also has contacts to our city website. And things of that nature. You can also sign up to receive notifications through that app. So like when we're hosting city events or we're having stuff like the town hall meeting, all of that is also pushed out through that app.
What is the name of the app again? I'm sorry, My Leon
Valley, or My LV, right? My Leon Valley. And you'll see our logo in the corner when you get ready to download it. The other thing we bought was some PPE decontamination supplies, some disposal supplies and medication, some power stretchers, 12-lead cardiac monitors, some library hotspots. We were able to purchase the Heavner Well generator. We haven't updated the AV council chamber equipment yet, but the TVs have finally come in. They were on back order. We were able to fix the police department. I don't know if any of y'all know, but they went about 3 months during the month of the summers and 108 degrees back there in the police department while the AC was out and parts were on back order. So we were able to use some of these funds to get that AC repaired. We were able to purchase FOIA software. For those of you that submit open records requests with their city secretary's office, those open records requests are filled and posted online. So it's helped with the repeat request of the similar open records, and all of those are available on our city website. We were able to give this staff some staff increases, which was premium pay. We gave everybody during that time of year $1,000. So every staff person received $1,000. We were able to fix the AC at the library. And then we offered a utility assistance program for $50,000, which helped some people that were harmed by COVID and that were behind on either trash services, water services, or maybe your electric bill. At the time, we were offering $750. That service is still available, so if you know anybody that needs assistance, we are offering $500 assistance through our utility assistance program, but you must be a Leon Valley resident. This upcoming year, we used $400,000 to purchase your $800,000 fire truck. And we do have a skate park budgeted, but as you will see as we're moving through this PowerPoint system, the skate park is going to be much more than the $70,000 that is budgeted. And then we were able to give an additional cost of living and add a detective to the police department, and that was $200,000. So we have we have about 1.6 million ARPA funds still available, and so we're asking you, how do we spend those 1.6? Go to the next slide. So here is, you have 1.6 left, and we have various sections that we were thinking about spending the money on. This is percentages. So if you think we should spend 5%, 1%, 100% of those funds, it will allow you to move it should have like a little bar, it should allow you to move the little circle across the space all the way up to 100%. So if you look there, see, you can go scroll and you can go 100%. And so it'll start moving those dials for us. And so you should see a little blue circle. And as you go through each of those topics, you have mental health services. Would you like to see 1% or 100% or anything in between? So you can have 1, 2, there you go, 50%, 100%.
Does it have to equal 100 at the end?
It should equal 100 at the end, but unless, some people don't always add exactly correctly, that's fine. Yes.
If you are wanting services in your neighborhood or your area, where would that fall?
So if it's services specific to your area, I'd wait to the very end. You will be able to put that down, how to spend those funds. So this is just to take a look at big chunks. So would you like us to spend money on mental health services, more public assistance for the community, like the utility assistance program that we were just discussing, mortgage or rent assistance? Would you like quality of life, like parks and pools? Would you like the money spent there? Would you like water infrastructure, like line replacement or animated reader meeting? Yes?
Oh, I wanted just for you to explain what AMI.
Oh, that's what it is. Automated meter readers for the water department. They have been bugging us for a really long time. It will also help you as well, because if you had a water leak, it will actually send you a notification and you would be able to address that water leak. Many of you have water leaks and are unaware that you have a water leak, and then you get this really high water bill. And so I know like the city of Fair Oaks uses Aquahawk, and so if I leave my water on for an extended period of time or have a running toilet, it'll send me a notification. This is very similar to that. Next is support for nonprofits harmed by COVID. Or looking at some public building renovations like the library annex. We've been discussing moving the library annex over, or maybe updating the park restrooms. And so we're just trying to see percentages of how you think that money should possibly be spent. And so you should be able to scroll, and it takes the averages. Okay, and go to the next slide.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to start talking about quality of life amenities, which is kind of the second part of this agenda item. Go ahead. So some of the items that the council has been discussing and that's been out and about in the community is a skate park. The skate park would be located at the Shadow Mist portion of the park. The estimated cost for this is $500,000. As I mentioned earlier, the council has already budgeted $70,000 for this skate park, so we would need to increase those funds. We need to replaster and repair the plumbing at the current pools in order to open next season. If that does not get accomplished, we may not have the pools available next summer season because they're leaking pretty badly, and so they need to be replastered. And so the cost of replastering the pools with engineering is about $175,000. And then looking at some park amenities like the rock climbing wall for 24, pickleball and existing tennis court, so kind of surfacing that area, which needs to be done. And maybe a possible splash pad. We've heard this over the course of the years is a possible splash pad. Can you move to the next slide? So just, yes, you'll be able to vote here just a little bit. I'm just going to kind of go over all the items so when we get there, you know what we're talking about. So this is a skate park. Go ahead. It's just a small skate park. We can't afford $1 million park, but something available for the local community. Replastering the pools. Go ahead. the rock climbing wall, the tennis court and pickleball, go ahead, the 1,500 square foot splash pad, and then we haven't really decided on location. I think the location first discussed was next to the pool, but some people have discussed maybe putting it actually in the park. Go with one. All right, so we're going to prioritize the following. You're going to pick a first, second, third, and fourth. You should be able to. Yes.
I just want to say.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to say the presentation was from the city council. I know we keep on calling it a skate park, and one of our residents pointed out that we shouldn't just call it a skate park because it's rollerbladers, it's scooters, it's even people walking around. They called it a pump park where families could go and kind of go around the trail. So when you say a skate park, it's not, a lot of people don't skateboard necessarily, but they can ride bikes and scooters and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Hold on, we'll get questions at the end.
Well, it happens to be on what you're voting for, and that is, I understood that the splash pad was off the table now because there has been research studies about that it's not possible to sanitize continually the water, and children have actually died from being poisoned. So why is a splash pad?
Because it's not off the table. There are still many residents that have wanted a splash pad, so it is still a topic of conversation. There are pumps, UV lights, other chemicals that are used if it's balanced appropriately. There are many splash pads that are still open. Seguin is one of them. I know a child died in the city of Arlington. They didn't chlorinate the water fronts correctly. And so the city of Arlington is the one that's doing that. But if you don't want the skate park, you can make that the last item on your prioritization list. But splash pads are very much still around. They are not being shut down. And there are safe ways to handle splash pads. So you just rank your options of how you would like the money to be spent and what you think is the top priority. The skate park and pickleball, man, y'all are really going at it there. All right, go ahead. We're going to go on and move on. Again, guys, these are going to be, you can continue to vote. These will continue to be open and available live on our website for the next few days. We have a combination. Maybe there's a combination that you would like to see. You can do the pools, pickleball, and rock climbing wall. Pools and skate park, pools and pickleball, pools and splash pad, pickleball and rock climbing wall, skate park, yes. Yeah, just pick one of the combinations that you think, if you had to pick a combination. And again, not just a skate park. You can bike, you can rollerblade, roller skate.
How about just pickles?
How about just pickles?
Pools and pickles.
Pools and pickleball. Okay.
Oh.
All right, go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, so here you go. What would you like to see your city's money spent on? And so this is a word, it's called a word cloud. You go in and type what you would like to see. And so you can put infrastructure, you can put a stoplight, or a stop sign, you can put speed pads, you can put anything that you think the money could be spent on. It doesn't have to be anything that we discussed today. That's the whole idea of having a word cloud. City equipment, city infrastructure, anything that you think that we can spend that $1.6 million on, so we can get a better idea, and then we can ask another question if we start seeing repeat of ideas. And so you'll be able to type in what you think the money should be spent on. I'm seeing some businesses, some street cleaning. We do have a street sweeper. And if you sign up for those notifications, we also send out our street sweeping schedule. I see park lights. Well, the park lights, just so many of you may not know, the residents that surround the park don't like to have any lights on and at night. And so the lights are turned off on a timer every evening. There are some hooded lights that stay open for some safety reasons, but most of the lights in the park are turned off. What else am I seeing up there? I've seen homelessness, bike lanes, We're seeing landscaping, seeing library, social services, the pools, some more recreation. I see Public Works up there. I bet you Melinda's over there typing in Public Works. Roads, pickleball courts, bike path. All right. So that does conclude the PowerPoint presentation, and the mayor will move on to the next item, which is citizens to hear anything. We are early, but we are available. If you would like to wait till the end of the meeting, we're here to answer any questions you all may have. Go ahead and move on.
Yeah, I just wanted, before we go to citizens, you heard any questions, comments on the ARP money? We do have until the end of 2024 to have the money designated or allocated to be spent. We're not gonna return any money, we're gonna use it all, but we do have some time with this, so, yes, Judy.
Mayor and council, thank you for all the hard work you've done, and I know this is not an easy process. My one concern is that I have been negligent about coming to other meetings and I haven't been attending city council. I feel like we don't have a lot of information. I have no idea, for example, how many people have applied for city grants for help with utilities. I have no idea what homeless rates are in the city. I have no idea how many people use both pools or one pool in the summer. So
I hear what you're saying, yes.
No, I'm making choices without any background.
Right. Our city manager said most of that data can be found online. We just did get an update on the utility assistance program at the last city council meeting, and out of the 50,000 that we had allocated, we spent approximately 17,000, so we have a balance of 32,000 to help people. And every year, it starts a new year, so if you applied last year for assistance, you can apply again this year. Is there anything else that, but yeah, it was, and I'm trying to think how many people were. About 17 people, yeah. So, as far as homelessness, I just know that going block walking, I heard that in the neighborhood. People, say homeless people are in and around and they want to try to address that. And I know I did speak to Commissioner Rodriguez a couple of meetings ago about could we partner with the county and hire, one person to address the homeless issues. Because what I'm learning, and what Dr. Caldera and I, we went to a meeting on homelessness with the city of San Antonio, a lot of the homeless people have benefits, but they don't know it. And so they need help. They're veterans and they help them get those benefits, help them find a home, help them reintegrate into society. So that might be something that you might want to look at. So what else would you say? Because I know you've got lots of.
So you asked homelessness and you asked
This utility assistance.
Yeah. So there isn't a percentage because we don't have health services here, right? So there's not a percentage that I can provide to you. We do keep some contact of people calling because they have homelessness in the creek. So we can pull some dispatch numbers for you, but that wouldn't be an accurate representation of the homeless population within Leon Valley. When we do get calls, because panhandling is illegal in our city, we do try to provide them whatever resources we do have. Take them to Haven to Hope. We provide them transportation to be able to get there. If they need food or clothing or blankets, we try to assist in any way that we can. But our main goal is to help them find the resources that they need. And so a lot of times just getting them in contact with Haven for Hope is a big help to them because they have services that we don't provide here available to them.
Don't we clean up the encampments?
We do clean up the encampments. He's first.
Yeah, the walk trail at the park needs to be resurfaced.
So the walking trail, at which portion, if you don't mind me asking?
This park?
That
Yes.
whole big part, okay. The whole thing. Melinda just stepped outside for her.
How are the homeless, how are they advised of the help they can get?
Normally, police officers or the MIH
officer, we do have flyers put together, we do provide them. Most of the homeless people population unfortunately don't want help, or they don't want services. And so, they are pretty comfortable with their choice of living, but unfortunately, we just wanna make sure that they're safe. And so I can't have them, trying to cross Bandera Road, trying to collect funds. We can't have them in the creek area because the creek floods and they could be washed away and drowned. And so we just wanna make sure that they're located to a safe place.
Hi, it's great. Yeah, I'm one of these people that were showing up, if you had a graph there for 50+ years, actually, we could have actually made that one. And I just wanted to bring up the point, it was brought up at the city council meeting about the short-term rentals, and that it's really becoming very prevalent, and it's not like we're asking a lot, honestly. We're not asking to stop Airbnbs or anything like that. I've got a neighbor to my left that's been my neighbor for 50 years. I got a neighbor to my right that's been my neighbor for only 5 or 10. We cover for each other, we take each other to the hospital, we do those things. That's a sense of community. And when it was so quickly and dismissively kind of barely voted on, about all we asked for was the same protections for the short-term rentals, Airbnbs that San Antonio has, not talking Manhattan, not talking anything, just talking the rest of the city, have those same protections. And it was voted down so quickly, and the message we got was, hey, my neighbor, the house across the street, the guy, it's more important that some guy that lives in Michigan makes a few $100 at night and knocks down Mr. Hennessy's mailbox and Hendricks. That's more important to protect those few $100. And we were just supposed to deal with that in terms of the beer cans or mailboxes or all the other things, and we know it's just going to get worse. And so all we're asking is to have the same protections. We live here. We're not in Michigan. We're not running out of. I mean, there's 22 people at the party. They're going to be there tonight. This is something that all we want is the same protections that the rest of San Antonio has. And the people that voted it down so quickly, we don't have multi-acreage lots like they do. It impacts us directly when they drive on the lawn and that. And so again, just all we ask for those basic protections that everyone else in the city enjoys.
So I'm not going to speak to the policy discussion that happened that evening, but I will say it may have seemed like a quick decision, but that was the 5th time in the last 2 years that we've discussed short-term rentals. So I just want you to understand that this conversation has been happening for an extended period of time. But I know that there's council members here that could respond to you if you need to.
Yeah, we were told, kind of frankly with Timmy piety, that we were just elitists and that we just had to deal with it.
It was, short-term rentals first came up in January of 2021, and so the council voted it in without any regulations, but we did say that if we had concerns that came up in the neighborhood, and this was the first concern that I had heard from your neighborhood. I had not heard any before, and we had talked about tax and
other
components of the short-term rental, but we never had an actual experience with short-term rentals. But your neighborhood is Adair and Countess Adria, and I believe you now have 3 short-term rentals. So that's what he's talking about. Just wanted to let you know that. So.
Quick question, is this an open forum now?
I think we're gonna move to the open forum because
there wasn't a transition yet.
There wasn't a transition, but this will be the open forum now. So I didn't want to cut you off, Greg, because that's important. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I just want to let you know that as a long-term renter in South Lake Tahoe in the summer, if Leon Valley is beginning to have some issues with Airbnbs, if it's been 5 years, do something now, because if it gets out of control, it's too late, and the town of South Lake City, Lake Tahoe will take years to recover.
If you are able to, if you would like to speak to the council, if you could form a line at either one of these mics. And if you want to stay seated and if you're unable to get up, Sandra's willing to walk to you. But it may help with some orderly fashion if y'all want to stand next to the mics.
And then also, if the council, would y'all like to come up and just, sit up here, just so that you can, the citizens are going to address the council, and so if you'd like to respond, that would be great.
And if you have things outside of that and you have to ask questions for the staff, we're also.
Oh, yeah, and the staff is here as well, so let them, I don't know if y'all want to sit, stand, whatever is most convenient for y'all, but I think it's important that you are the elected representatives of the people, and they need to hear from you. Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm Councilor Bradshaw, and this is Citizens We Heard portion, obviously. We want to hear your comments and your suggestions, and please let us know your names so we can follow up, of course. State your name and the neighborhood you live in. And just one of the comments about, as Crystal mentioned, Dr. Caldwell mentioned, this was the 5th time we've talked about short-term rentals, and you know, the discussion about doing something about it now, we understand that, the urgency of it, but the problem is, if you do some research, you'll find that many cities, you talk about South Lake Tahoe, they have been unable to do anything about it because of the court's rulings on this. The courts side with property rights, owner's rights. So unless you have an HOA like Pomona Place that prevents short-term rentals, it's very hard for the city to legislate that, to regulate that, without getting into $1 million lawsuits and things like that. So that's part of the problem. And also, just real quick, the comment, the elitist comment was not made by the council. That was a member of the community that made that same comment during the citizen hearing.
I'm not sure what the law says, but I just know when we did look at the city of San Antonio's ordinance, they require a permit, $100, but they do have a limitation on how many Airbnbs can go on a street. So that's what I was thinking that we might could adopt. So that's why I shared that with the council. So, anyway, yes, Mr. Anybody else have a question?
I would let the citizens.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon.
Make sure we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now,
Okay.
closer to the microphone.
Sure. So, my name's Lalani Mercado. I live in the Hodges Althea area, which is the beginning point of Leon Valley that most people forget is Leon Valley. On January the 6th, so my concern is safety, business, and environment. And that's where I'd like the ARPA funds to go to. On January the 6th, we had a lockdown in our neighborhood because there was an armed gunman with an illegal gun and a stolen vehicle. So we had to lock down because there was shots being fired. Because we live behind Culpeppers, there's a green belt, right, that is overrun. It's not part of Leon Valley. However, I called Leon Valley to ask them to coordinate some efforts. Sorry. So coordinate some efforts with the city of San Antonio in order to get that cleaned up, because that's where those armed gunmen, those two 19-year-olds, actually hid from the police department. So I would like, I think it's yours, Mayor Riley.
Turn it off. You're good.
So,
No, it's still doing it. It's yours now. Okay. Just blaming me, and
Just
it's
move
your
back.
ability.
Move back towards the wall a little
better?
bit.
Yes, can you, everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So, I would like that green belt to be cleaned. I've already contacted Code Compliance Leon Valley and the city to 311. Then there's trash behind the businesses and illegal dumping, so you'll see toilets, mattresses behind the business park, and it just looks filthy. And the traffic, to get out of my neighborhood, we made it a one-way about 3 years ago, thank you, Melinda. However, now you can't get out of Evers without possibly getting killed because the traffic is backed up all the way on Evers Road. So I can't leave my neighborhood at certain times of the day, and then individuals are using it as a cross street again because the traffic, of course, we all know has increased by at least 35%. And we continuously, because people are just able to pass through our neighborhood, have stolen mail often. It just happened last week. They drive up and they steal mail, and we're told, oh, that's not a code compliance issue, it's an issue with with the post office, we've called the post office, they've done nothing about it. So my concern in my neighborhood is safety. It has, you know, pre-COVID has really gone down, and so I really like that, and our neighborhood doesn't look like the rest of Leon Valley because there's no money put into that neighborhood at all. And so I'd like money to be put in for the environment and safety. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. Ann, you're next. Go ahead. Thank you and welcome.
My name is Ann Sawyer.
You gotta pick up the microphone.
I'm scared to pick it up. I don't have.
We'll screech at you.
All right, how about now?
Like right now?
There we go. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I'm Ann Sawyer, and I live in Canterfield, I believe is what it is. We're right up against the Huebner Creek. Anyway, not to invalidate all these other concerns, my topic is about the community and for the children. I am a big swim team proponent, and I'm also on the committee. I used to be on the pool committee, but it's now merged with the Parks Commission. And so when it was announced about the pools that they needed to be resurfaced, they're water leaking now. Both pools actually are leaking now, and it's not next summer that they need to be resurfaced. Like, it has to be resurfaced now. And so without that, we won't have the pools, either pool, and we won't have the swim team. And so swim team for the last couple of years has been building up slowly, and I really propose that we get these pools resurfaced because most neighborhoods only restrict members of the swim team to those in the neighborhood. The Leon Valley Swim Team allows anyone all over San Antonio to join the Leon Valley Swim Team. And there are people who come from all over San Antonio to come to practices and to come to the meets. And it's a wonderful opportunity for children to learn how to swim all the strokes, have fun while they're doing it every day in the practice, have weekly meets. And it's just a really fun time for the children. And we're in an environment where there's a lot of push on the clubs. You have to be in soccer club. You have to be in swim club. This isn't that. This is recreational. And my son now is in high school, and he's going to a high school where there are a lot of club members. So he couldn't get on the soccer team. He couldn't get on the swim team. Very good soccer player, very good swimmer. But these recreational sports allow all children to be able to participate in sports. And so beginning this year, the swim team is going to allow children up to the age of 18 to be on the team. For years it was just 16, but starting this year it's going to be up to 18 years old. So I want to have you all think about your children, your grandchildren joining the Leon Valley Swim Team, but we must have the pools replastered in order for that to happen.
Good point.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Ann, for those comments. Really appreciate it. Mr. Campos, you're next. Thank you. And where do you live?
Well, good morning. My name is Philip Campos. I live in Castle Estates. I've been a resident here of Leon Valley for about 43 years. My wife and I moved here when we were newlyweds in 3 different areas of Leon Valley, but the last 30 in Castle Estates. And I wanted to bring to the community the issue about this short-term rental. While we're bringing it up as our community in Castle Estates, there's only 26 structures over there. And now 3 of them currently are commercial. And we might get a 4th in that small area where 26 homes used to be. And it's not an issue that's just affecting our neighborhood, it's affecting every neighborhood in Leon Valley. There's another Airbnb at the 4-way stop on Seneca. There's another one that one of the councilmen owns. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is we need to get some rules to regulate how many you can have in an area. Make sure that we're collecting the hotel occupancy tax because that's gonna help our treasury. as we try to defer these different expenses that we're talking about, just like the pool. And the worst thing about what's going on right now, the owners of the 2 Airbnbs in our area saying that they qualify for a homeowner's exemption, and they're paying less tax. So it's a crazy situation that's going on, and it's affecting everybody in this room. So I really urge you to talk to your councilman to tell them, hey, we need some regulations to go on for short-term rentals. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We appreciate that. Good morning. If you'll state your name and where you live, please.
I'm Joan Marcotte. I live in Old Mill. I've been a resident there, same house for 41 years. Love it. I love the convenience and my neighbors and Leon Valley. My concern is street sweeping. It just doesn't happen unless you request it, apparently. Let's see, the last time my neighborhood was, the street cleaner came through was middle of July. And I have tried to figure out what the schedule is. I don't know if there is a schedule. I can't find it. Is there a schedule?
Melinda would have it.
Anyway, that's my concern. The trash gets blown down Huebner Road into my neighborhood from Bandera and Huebner, where there's a lot of commercial. There's the Bolero, there's the Whataburger, the bowling alley, just everything. All the trash gets blown down my neighborhood. And for some reason, it lands in front of my house. I don't know. It gets blown down or washed down whenever it rains. So that is my concern. Also, a neighbor I was talking to, I thought she would be here today, but I don't see her. She is concerned about sidewalks. Sometimes I see them out repairing some sidewalks, but there are a lot of areas, and I've tripped over them, with the uneven sidewalks and the cracked sidewalks. There is a house in our neighborhood that has in the front yard a half privacy fence around their front yard. Of course, when I first saw that, I thought, what are they hiding? Turns out they were hiding something. There was an incident not that long ago. So is that really allowed? Apparently it was. They wanted a full one, I heard, a full privacy fence in the front yard. It wasn't allowed, so they put a half one up, and it looks awful. It looks awful. I can see on the other side when I walk by, and it's just trash. I don't know what the answer is. Anyway, those are my concerns.
Thank you, Jackie, for listing your concerns. Can I ask Melinda to please address the sidewalks and the street sweeping, please?
So, I'm sorry, too close. We do have, Billy Lawson is the person who does our street sweeping. He was out for 2 months with a medical issue. And so then right after that, of course, all the crew was busy doing the holiday decorating. And so that's done. He's back, the sweeper's back in business. We did have the PW Notify system where you could give us your phone number, and we would let you know when we're going through the neighborhood. But our schedule is quarterly. He tries to do all of Leon Valley within 2 weeks. And so you'll see him going around now that everything's back in business. Sidewalks need repair. We know we have a 4-man construction crew. And so if you call in and tell us you've got a sidewalk that's got a trip hazard or broken or whatever, we will put it on our schedule and they will get to it, and they're doing them as they get them into queue. So not a problem with that. House and neighborhood with a half a privacy fence. Yes, the council did allow fences in front yards, but they can only be up to a certain height, which is I think 4 feet, if I remember correctly. And so yeah, the fence is allowed. However, hoarding trash and doing those kinds of things are not allowed. So that, for those, you can call code enforcement and they will make a trip to our house and make sure that they're not doing that. Okay?
And Melinda, my understanding is no chain link fences in the front yard, correct?
That is correct, but a privacy fence is allowed.
Thank you. I hope we answered your question. Yes.
I have a David
Patter on Facebook.
I turned mine off, so it's not mine. Okay, go ahead.
And he liked to address that.
I'm sorry, what was his name, David?
David Patter. The ridge at Leon Valley Park off of Grass Hill Road needs attention. It has been tagged with graffiti. Also, trash doesn't seem to be emptied regularly.
Okay. Great, thank you. Glad that Facebook is working. Yeah, we are streaming this live, so people at home can hear it. Yes, if you'll state your name and where you reside.
My name is Linda Garland. I live in Canterville. I've been there about a little over 10 years. And my concern is the fireworks, because from my understanding, it's illegal to set off fireworks in the city limits. In July 4th, I had a neighbor a few doors down shooting fireworks. Something landed and started a fire in my backyard, burned in the bush. I was already in bed. Good thing my son was there and noticed it and put it out. In January, New Year's Eve, from the other side, they were doing those, what do they call those things, chasers or something, hitting my bedroom window. Now, I have the large dog that's scared of everything, that I have a thunder shirt for, and I have the small dog that's scared of nothing. And she got scared, she was shaking like everything. So my concern is, why is this not being addressed? Isn't it illegal? I know it happened all over San Antonio too.
Did you happen to call the non-emergency number?
No.
When this happened? That's what we would need for all the citizens, whenever you have a question or concern, call the non-emergency number, because then we can keep track of issues and then we can address them. So, anything else?
Aren't people aware that they're not supposed to be doing that?
Yeah.
Well, yes. No, okay, yeah, just, anytime you have fireworks or you think something that's illegal but not an immediate emergency, just to call the non-emergency number. The police department as well as the fire department do go out regularly on July 4th and New Year's Eve, and we do confiscate or warn people not to be shooting fireworks, and they do that on those days regularly, they're out.
Well, this went, of course, I'm on a street that, in Canterville, that's kind of like 1 block long. Nobody goes there unless they live there, there's no through traffic. But this went on to about 2:30 in the morning, from about 8 o'clock at night to about 2:30 in the morning. So I don't know why,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, they're on regular calls, so of course, New Year's and July 4th are high volume call days. People have been out drinking, and there's some other issues that go on during those. So they're not out looking for fireworks. Unfortunately, fireworks isn't our #1 priority during those times. So you have to call the non-emergency number. They get put in a queue, and then when the officers get done with the call, they will head out there and take a look.
Okay,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, she doesn't want to jump in line, but she wanted to comment on that comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I used, a couple of years ago, I did that. I used the non-emergency number. It would just rotate. And finally, I think we had a call straight to, or we got somebody from the San Antonio. That's where it kept routing to. It didn't route locally. Yeah, it went to Bexar County.
We are on the Bexar County dispatch.
Yeah, so, because I would see that in your newsletter, so we did, we called her. I don't know if there was any resolution out of it, to be honest, but it really kind of upset me, because I think that was the second year I did try that phone, that number. 2, this year, we worked downtown, got back before midnight, and down Forest Meadow, there was like maybe 5 or 6 people there, like not in the middle of the road, but doing the fireworks. And I didn't even want to call, because I thought, I'm not gonna get any resolution out of it. But I kind of wondered, we need to have a better, I know that there's probably more important things, but if her place got, on a dry season, it caught fire. That doesn't mean it's just there, it could be anyplace else. Absolutely. I just wanted to comment, because I agree with her, and I have tried that number, and I still see that. We just saw it this year.
Thank you. May I ask you to please state your name and where you reside, please?
Hi, my name is David Moran, and I'm so new to the neighborhood that I don't know which neighborhood I live in, but I live on the other side of Evers, Evening Sun Street. Anyway,
Sun Valley.
What's it called?
Sun Valley?
Sun Valley, there you go, I've heard that one. So I see you guys are on Facebook and Instagram, but I'd also ask, you have someone that oversees that, but I'd also ask you to have someone monitor other social media sites. One of the big ones that I see is Nextdoor. And Nextdoor has a lot of complaints. There's always people making comments and stuff of that nature. Maybe you could have someone monitor and also respond or react or at least anticipate what's going on to Nextdoor complaints.
So just to comment before you move on to your next comment, the city of Leon Valley, according to Nextdoor's rules and regulations, we're not allowed to be on Nextdoor. They do not allow the city of Leon Valley to be on Nextdoor. So I cannot see your post unless, I do have some residents that will send me the negative comments and we try our best to be able to respond. We can post out information, like if we're having an event, I can disperse information out, but I cannot see what your neighborhoods are posting, the comments under the neighborhoods. Nextdoor does not allow that access to the city.
But you can do it as an individual.
Right, but none of the city staff lives here. So you have to live here. So I will tell you, a few years ago, I got on, used City Hall as the address, and they kicked me out. And so they don't allow city staff, unless you actually live in Leon Valley, to have an account.
Right.
So I can't see what's being posted. So that's the only social media site where we can't do two-way communication. We can on Facebook, we can on Instagram. We're getting ready to test TikTok, and we have a YouTube channel.
Right.
But we don't have the ability to.
I'd recommend staying away from TikTok because of their ownership, foreign ownership, and also possible hacking and what have you. So I recommend staying away. But I do want to recommend, I do want to comment a positive, really positive thing. I'm really happy being here. Tomorrow will be my first anniversary here that I know in. I was greeted by, as I'm coming down the street, coming to my home for the first time, a beautiful buck crossing within the crosswalk across the street from the park.
You trained them well.
You trained them well. I love the community. I love that you have what you have. I love you got your own police department, your fire department, all of the stuff that you do. The other thing I would ask is that you do more promotion, because I only catch some of the events, but I'd love to attend some of the events that were spoken about, and I've been here for 3 years, so I don't know what else you would recommend, or how else you could reach out to get more.
Have you registered for e-news?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I did for the
so that's
newsletter,
one
yes.
of our weekly communications.
Right, so I just signed up for that.
And then the Leon Valley?
Leon Valley app.
My Leon Valley app.
The app, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Excuse me, I just wanted to comment for you. We are one of the first in the nation to have Nextdoor since California started it. It's undergone new ownership. A lot of the complaints that you see in Nextdoor are not necessarily Leon Valley, although the name, after their name of the poster or the person that's replying to a post says Leon Valley. I just got them to change Oak Hills Terrace, not being Leon Valley. But there are other neighborhoods. So when people complain about the police or EMS or the streets or robberies or shootings or break-ins, and it says Leon Valley, it is not Leon Valley in the most part. We don't have hardly any of it. I've also posted in there where you can go for a crime report and put in your zip code, and you will see where the crimes are occurring, and it's not Leon Valley.
Thank you for that clarification, Tina. All right, Elaine Valdez.
Hello,
for
my name
Pavona
is
Place.
Elaine Valdez, and I live in Pavona Place. And I have two questions. One is, have the living conditions at the Vista del Rey apartments improved?
I can answer that question for you. So we are in the process of active litigation. As of last week, they have submitted fire plans and stair plans. As far as we know, it looks like all water and no hot water have been corrected. It is an old building, so I do anticipate boilers to continue to go out over time, and so we'll continue to have those complaints even after they receive their certificate of occupancy. They have to still repair their pools, is still one of the remaining items. And they've submitted plans for that already and have been approved. And so, once those things are accomplished, then we'll start moving through with inspections and issuing certificates of occupancy. But in order for all of those things to happen, the council has been actively engaging in an active lawsuit with the apartment complex. And before they are able to drop it, they have to come into compliance.
And you had a second question?
Yes, my second question is the restaurant at the intersection of 410 and Bandera Road that was flooded out. And it's an eyesore, tremendous eyesore at this time, and what is being done about that?
So that property has current liens on that property already. The city has gone and abated the property a couple of times. The council just is getting ready at the next council meeting to finalize their substandard building ordinance. That building is considered life safety issues right now. It's completely gutted out. So we'll be moving forward with that ordinance to get it possibly demolished and cleared out. The current owners of the property are in some sort of lawsuit with their insurance company on how much they're willing to pay for damages, and so that's where it's sitting.
Just clarify that.
That's at Comfort Cafe, right? Y'all know where that is, across the street from HEB. So, okay, just want to be sure everybody was on the same page there. Judy, you're next. Thank you.
Judy Pearl, I've lived in the Sun Valley area for over 25 years, I can't believe it. I just wanted to make a comment about the Leon Valley non-emergency number. This week, I tried 4 times to get through to that number and finally just gave up. I wish there was a way for I know the 911 and the 311 numbers go through San Antonio. I don't know how it's set up. I don't keep the direct number. I put it in my phone after this week. But isn't there a better way to get an emergency number set up that goes directly to Leon Valley?
So the answer to that is no. Your city cannot afford your own dispatch center. You can't afford your own 311 system. You would need to be able to staff it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You would need a minimum of 8 staff people. On average, your staff people cost the city anywhere between $50,000 to $60,000 a year, so you can do the math in regards to that. But if you call during normal business hours, if it's a non-emergency normal business hours, call City Hall. We have a receptionist that picks up the phone. You can call my line. My cell phone number is on my business card. You can call my cell phone. I answer, as well as the chief. He's got an admin that's there regular business hours. They answer the phone there. Sometimes if you just leave a voicemail, most of y'all have called me directly and I get back with you within 30 minutes to an hour. So if you need something addressed that's non-emergency like and it's Monday through Friday, if you give City Hall a call, we do have our receptionist there. Sometimes she is answering other calls. If you leave her a voicemail, she does get back to you pretty timely. If they're not getting back to you, please call and let me know or shoot me an email. The staff should be returning your calls. We have an internal policy. They should be getting back to you within 24 hours of you leaving a voicemail. So if that is not occurring, I need to be aware of who you left the voicemail with. So then that way we can address our customer service issues. But if you are calling during the normal business hours, try to get a hold of us instead of going through the non-emergency number.
Good alternative. Thank you for that. So, do you want to give them your cell number?
Everybody got a pen? You got a pen?
Yeah.
It is 210, I don't call myself, so I just look at my card. 210-803-3352.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right.
Good morning, and if you'll state your name and where you reside. Thank you.
My name's Nancy Thornton. I live in Nancy.
Oh, Nancy.
Yes.
And your last name? Thornton. Okay, thank you.
I live in the Pavona Place.
Okay.
And my question's about when you're making a left turn on Heidner and Evers, that stoplight. It goes from blink, blink, blink yellow to solid yellow. It could either turn green or red. So I'm wondering, why does it turn green or red? When it turns green, I'm good. But it's been on occasions where it turned red, and I got a ticket at my house right now, and I was wondering, I'm used to it going to green, but this time it turned red. It went blink, blink, yellow, then solid yellow, then now I found out, cause I went back to check, it could either turn green or it could turn red. Why doesn't it turn one or the other? Then I got.
I was gonna ask if Chief
Yes.
could answer that, since that's his department, Chief Gonzalez. No,
He's
it's,
at
oh, it's
Hebert.
Melinda's department, okay, Melinda, go for it.
We only own 2 traffic signals, and that's all. And for some reason, we had that entire signal system replaced a couple of years ago, and it was working fine. Then someone had a major accident over there and took out a bunch of the poles. So we had that all repaired, but we're still facing some malfunctioning with it, so I'm glad you told me about that. It's now one of those LiDAR systems, and the other thing we're finding with that signal is that when the sun hits a certain point, it messes with that little infrared camera that's on top. And so we're still working through that, but I did not know that that gets malfunctioned too, so thank you for letting me know. Anytime you have a problem with a street or a traffic signal or a stop sign or any of those things, please call Public Works and let us know.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm not the police.
Oh, I need to go see the police about this. Other people, who's gonna take care of this?
Thank you, Nancy, for bringing this to our attention, really appreciate it. All right, Kathy Nelson is next from Grass Valley, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. We've been in Grass Valley for 27 years now. One of the things that we have always dealt with, and so I'm coming on behalf of all of the neighbors on my side of the street, we abut the businesses on Bandera Road. When there's a power outage, it is our side of the street. The rest of Grass Valley has power. In the Snowmageddon, none of us had power. The rest of the neighborhood did. And I have brought this up before. I don't know if there's anything that can be done to get our side of the street to be on the same grid as the rest of the neighborhood. Because when the businesses go out, when somebody runs into one of the transformers that's along Bandera Road, the businesses go out, all of our homes go out. As we're all getting older and our neighbor's in her 80s, she ended up having pipes freeze during that time, but the whole time that we didn't have power for 2-3 days, the people right across the street did. And that's, it happened, I think we've lost power twice in December. Of course, across the street didn't. It is more important also, since COVID, so many more people work at home, such as myself. If my power goes out because somebody has hit something on Bandera Road, I either don't get paid or have to use my vacation time, and that's the only way to get paid. So it's just, if CPS Energy cannot do anything because that our street and the houses on there were there before the businesses, that power grid is probably original. Now CPS Energy is upgrading those lines. They're redoing the poles and everything now, so before they finish that project, I didn't know if there was anything that can be done. And if not, I just want to be
Well, I
able to
appreciate
know
you
and tell
bringing
my
that to our
neighbors.
attention, thank you so much.
Okay.
If you're out of power, you can always go to the Leon Valley Library. They have the
Well, I
Wi-Fi,
can't
as
take
you know.
my computers and
I
stuff.
understand, they have computers. But the second thing I would say is that we have talked to CPS Energy, and I thought they were addressing long-term power outages like we experienced through the Snowmageddon. And they are now setting up a system where it's rolling, you know, it's like 10 or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, they're blocked times. And so I'm not sure. Yeah.
So, in your particular area, a lot of times it's the transformers that blow because of the businesses like Carville. And so that's why, so it's those 4 homes that, or 5 homes, I think, on that side, from the corner all the way down, that we typically get calls that the lights go out, and it's normally,
So it's not a big one. Okay.
yeah, and so, Melinda, go ahead, Melinda.
So this is a
I
unique
can check
situation.
CPS and see if there is something they can do
Okay.
because they are replacing all those poles right
Yeah,
now.
I
They're
was-
doing major upgrades to that.
Okay.
So let me call.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me give them a call and see if there's something they can do. Sure.
Hi, I'm Beth Mersch from Seneca Estates. I want to piggyback on the whole light issue and the protector, or the left turn blinking yellow light. I think I got a ticket at Huebner and Evers for the exact same thing because the camera took my picture, but it takes your mind a minute to realize that the yellow's not blinking anymore and that it's solid for a second, and then it went to red. So in my mind, I was expecting that I still had opportunity to turn. But the other thing that I think is confusing is all of the lights, and some of them may not be under Leon Valley's control, they all operate differently with that crazy blinking yellow light. It's not always that you get a red light after the blinking. Sometimes you get a green. And to know what intersection you're at is impossible. And unfortunately, I already paid my ticket, so I'm really upset now if I find out there's an issue with that light, where sometimes it's green and sometimes it goes to red, because the average, driver is never gonna be able to tell. So I would just as soon get rid of the crazy yellow blinking lights, because I think it just causes confusion.
So we'll be taking a look at that intersection and seeing with the red light camera citations that were issued. So we'll take a look at it.
Any other questions, comments from our citizens? Thank you. I have Mr. Bradshaw.
So in response to the red light tickets, there's a couple of concerns, especially that intersection of Evers and Huebner. I go through there every day on the way to work, and I agree, I've seen it. I've seen like, wait, is it gonna turn yellow? Is it gonna turn green? Or red or green? What's going on? And as mentioned earlier, there is legislation going to the state. The only reason we still have the red light cameras is because they're grandfathered in with the contract, and it's until 2038. So there's legislation being proposed to remove that grandfather clause, which would get rid of the cameras in Leon Valley.
House Bill 177.
House Bill 177, thank you, Councilor Hebner. That being said, the state has removed all the teeth from the tickets, the red light camera tickets. So there's, even though you get the thing that says they're fine, it's not a legal fine, it's a civil fine. So it won't go on your license, it won't go on your insurance, the police aren't gonna come after you for that. You can still get your driver's license, still renew your vehicle.
But you still have to pay it.
No.
So I'm just saying, there is, I've gotten red light camera tickets, and if you wait 50 years, it's in that time capsule at City Hall.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Orozco.
Thank you, Mayor. I live in Pomona Place, and I get confused with that yellow blinking light. I understand the function of it, and it does work, to where you can turn left and there's a red light, but it's not consistent. And for some reason or another, it does not have a pattern that it follows, and that's where you're coming. I got a ticket myself. I'm sorry you paid it. Yeah, I paid 2 tickets in the beginning. I have not paid any since then. As Councilor Bradshaw had mentioned about House Bill 177, Stevens, Bradshaw, and myself went up to the state capitol to go talk about this. And yes, and he was going to go to the House, but apparently some Democrats decided to fly to Washington, so it ended and it stopped there. But it's back on the table, and hopefully we'll get rid of the red light cameras. But as much as the money that we have coming in for red light cameras, we don't want you to pay it. We have talked about this and talked about this. I can't tell you what you do. As far as you want to pay it, I'm telling you that I don't pay it anymore. Because the lights are not consistent, and it must have been my wife that went by the red light, it wasn't me. Give us some time, we'll work with the legislators in Austin and trying to get those red light cameras done. In the meantime, just be very careful right there on Evers and Huebner. I'm very cautious there because, like I said, it's not consistent and it's not holding a pattern to to the lights.
Well, one of the main issues on the red light cameras though is if we get out of it, we are funding at least 4 to 6 police officers, I think, through that money. So,
Are you reserved now?
yes, we're gonna have to reduce services, and that's
You're
just
fine.
reality.
We have millions of dollars now, ready. We're prepared.
Well, that's why we're
not
saving
spending.
the money. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Let's see, you gotta go to the mic, we need to have a mic to you, please, so everybody can hear.
And then you had a citizen actually waiting.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Let me hear from our citizen, and we'll go get in line. I appreciate that, and then we'll have you on.
Okay, I'm Patty Dyer, and I live in Grass Valley, across from the park. And I've lived here since 1985, so over 30-something years. And in these 30 years, I have never had deer wipe out my front yard. And I mean, it's almost every night. I cannot plant plants in my front yard anymore. And are we doing anything about that, or can we do anything about it? I've seen people feeding deer in the park. I've even stopped and told them, quit feeding the deer, because now they're coming into our yards, getting into our trash, and wiping out our plants. Anything, I don't know that there's anything that we can do, but it is a problem every day.
It's becoming a problem. Melinda, she has a new sign at the park, but we don't have an ordinance that goes with that sign. But Melinda, would you please explain that we are giving our deer diabetes, right?
Well, they put up signs at the park that say, please don't feed the deer, but also there will be an ordinance change coming to the city council, I think at this next meeting, to include that actually in the ordinance, that it's gonna be prohibited to feed the deer in any of the city parks or in any of the city drainage ways. The corn that you feed them is not good for them. Now we've got chronic wasting disease, and every time you get the herd together like that, you're helping to spread that. They can also get a toxin from a fungus. And so none of that, the deer don't need tortillas. They don't need breakfast buns. They don't need bread. And they don't need that high fructose corn. So we're encouraging, I don't mean just encouraging people not to feed them, but we'll actually be passing an ordinance prohibiting it on city property.
Thank you. It'll be at the 21st. I'm sorry, it'll be on February 21st agenda. All right. If you'll please state your name and where you reside.
Good morning, my name is Leslie Martinez, and I
Leslie
live off
Martinez?
of Forest Meadows, so I'm
Forest
really
Meadows.
close. My question was, is there any way to let our seniors know regarding the tickets that they get on, you know, the strict Bandera with the cameras, because most of our seniors are on fixed incomes. So it's not fair to them. So is there any way to let them know that they don't have to pay the ticket?
Okay. We don't tell them that, but you know, Mr.
Okay. I mean, they need these really worried.
So I think Ray did a good job of explaining this. And I think if some of us are not on the council in the future, we'll be able to speak more freely about this. But we want to prevent the city from encountering millions of dollars of lawsuits. And so one of the elements of that is we can't come out and advocate for people to not pay tickets that we're contractually obligated to give to residents through 2038. And so that's why we're hoping that the state law passes. In the meantime, I have not paid tickets. I mean, I think if y'all want to spread the word, we just cannot, as officials of the city, tell people to not pay a ticket that we're contractually required to give out for violations. So
I was mostly thinking because of that one light, that if it's not working properly,
if it's not
working, they got a ticket on it.
yes, so Crystal had said we're going to take a look at possibly sending out a notification if people got tickets from that single light.
Thank you.
I did want to address, some other things. So starting with the deer, so I personally have had deer that have torn up my front yard. I think somebody that might have been in here shared with me a little secret, and it has worked. If you get a cheese grater and some Dove soap bars and go out every few days and grate the Dove soap near your trees or bushes or whatever, it generally works. But the scent goes away after a couple of days, so you gotta do it more often. The half privacy fence in front yard, I want to clarify, that was not this council that implemented that, but I would be more than happy to get, and I will get with one of my colleagues, and we'll add that to the agenda to discuss and hopefully remove that ability. We won't be able to take down the existing ones, but we can prevent future ones from coming up. I did want to clarify the shooting at Seneca 2 across the street. I don't know if everybody read the thing, but it was ruled a suicide. I think that was kind of potentially known for a while, but the investigation just wasn't complete.
No, mine was on Seneca.
No, it was in Althea Hodges area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind the-
Oh, yours was in San Antonio, right? So I did
Not
want.
San Antonio. No, that's Leon Valley. They live in Leon Valley.
Oh.
Althea Hodges.
So it's,
But the
technically
the shooting
city
was
of
in
San
San
Antonio.
Right. So
But it's right behind my neighborhood, so it's in the green belt behind Culpeppers, where the individuals were hiding. And so they put us on lockdown, like get on the floor at your own home because
So that was
there
the
was a
city of San
safety
Antonio
concern about
police?
guns.
City of San Antonio police did that?
City of San Antonio
Okay.
police did that on the street, but it's like,
right.
Right
So
next to our neighborhood.
so yeah. So
She has
you're
property
it
real
was in the city of San Antonio. We can't really control what the other city does. However, I will say I've had complaints from people that live on Hodges and Althea before. I have worked with Councilwoman Sandoval's office, and she just resigned. So, but I can figure out who to contact. And every time I've brought a concern up to them with like homeless people living in that culvert, which there always is, it seems, they come and they do a thorough clean out. They come back later, but they at least, just
Right, I
because of
just
the
think
proximity to
it
home.
needs to be consistent, right? Because right across the street on Callahan, you had a homeless camp of 30 families living in there. It took a year for them to clean that up. And this is a similar situation. So you have to coordinate your efforts with the city and then Leon Valley to push them to kind of continuously clean that, because right now there's tents in there, there's chairs, you can't see, and so that's how those gunmen went in there, because it's overrun with brush.
Right, so the city of Leon Valley currently does not allow people to stay on our public properties. The city of San Antonio has passed laws that allow that. And so it's a difference of policies. And so we can't make them follow our laws in their city.
Right, and I'm not saying that, I'm saying have them clean it up, so that is not a policy, that's like, get it cleaned up.
Right.
So that you can't try and live there, right? Right now it's overrun. And there's like a little tiny piece that's Leon Valley, and then the rest is City of San Antonio.
Right.
So I would encourage you to continue to call through, you call 311
Yes.
and we pull on our side the best
Yes.
that we can. But I can tell you, you're gonna have to keep, this will be
Yes.
forever an ongoing issue for you.
Yes, I agree. And it's because of the owners of that property,
Correct.
whoever owns the side of that green belt. That's why I think it took a year for Mike Phillips to get that cleaned up on the right side. But like people were, like families were living there on right next to us, yeah.
Dr. Caldeira and I went to a meeting within the last year. I mean, in the city in San Antonio, they have a huge team. Must have been 20 people around the table addressing homelessness, so they are trying their best. And so they brought us in because we did turn in those concerns with the city of Leon Valley. And, you know, there's no boundaries, as you say. I mean, City of San Antonio, City of Leon Valley.
We can build a wall around it.
Yeah.
Councilman Stevens, so can you elaborate that, what they decided was a suicide? Was that in the park?
Oh.
Yeah,
I-
it was not in the park. It was in the Leon Valley Ridge.
There's a
Just
press
off the
release
Grass Valley.
posted, right?
I don't know, we don't like to post that because it's harmful to the family, so we don't publicize that.
Okay.
I told y'all, but we don't publicize.
Oh, so I'm sorry if I just violated something.
Well, it's not violating.
But I did want to put the residents at ease, and I think that there might have been some. No, well, there was obviously after there's a murder or a death in your neighborhood, down the street from you, you get concerned, and that's completely understandable. I think we knew all along, although the police department can't confirm that to the public until their investigation.
Is that the one though that was like near or on a jogging trail?
Correct.
Is that the one?
It's a walking trail.
Again, next door app, that's the one that was publicizing a lot of information, and
Right.
But we can't, because it's harmful to the family
Understood.
to release
Right.
why somebody took their, I mean, it can, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And so we
But
don't.
But I never heard the resolution, so right
That
now
is
is
the
the first time I've heard
resolution.
anything, so, thank you for stating that.
Yes, Glenda, go ahead.
Where could we get a map of Leon Valley?
Where can we get a map of Leon Valley? On our website.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else? It was a great citizens to be heard. I really appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
You have 15 minutes.
We have 15 minutes. Yeah, we
I thought
actually have till
the,
12:15.
representatives were gonna provide feedback on the citizens to be heard.
I know they have.
I missed one.
They have, but we can certainly hear from other people. Yes, Mr. Beckman.
Yeah, I have to echo my colleagues just around red light cameras. It's something that this council has worked on for a couple of years. Just to provide a little bit of context around it, in 2020, the original legislation passed by the state legislature was passed in 2019, prohibiting red light cameras statewide. The vast majority of cities had some sort of early termination clause, and all but 4 cities in Texas exercised those clauses. So the only cities that still had red light cameras are Leon Valley, Balcones Heights, Humble, and Amarillo. Amarillo's contract expired last year. Humble's contract expires in June of 2024. Balcones Heights, I think, goes to 2034, and ours goes till 2038. So the unfortunate situation that we're in is, there was an administration change, a different policy direction around red light cameras, but we don't currently have the ability as a city to exit that contract because we don't have a exit clause in our contract. And so we are dependent on the state legislature. So if that's something that you care about and want the state legislature to pass, House Bill 177 is before the legislature now. It is in the House. We're working on getting a companion bill in the Senate to be pushed through. But like any legislation, the state legislature has a lot of important business that they're working on. And so the lion's share of that was all taken care of 2019. It's difficult to kind of get to the level of action when it's just really 2 cities, us and Balcones Heights, that are doing that. So, but to, I believe it was Mr. Bradshaw's point, all of the teeth have been taken out of that. We can't tell you as officials of the city, don't pay your fines. But I think everyone on the council hasn't paid tickets. So, yeah, Mayor Riley is a good driver. Yeah, if anybody has questions on short-term rentals, I know that's a topic. I was not, unfortunately, our work had me out of town for our last council meeting. I'm happy, I'm meeting with a couple of residents after to just kind of talk more in depth about that. And would love to hear your feedback on that topic.
Yes, Mr. Bradshaw and Mr. Martin.
Yeah, I just want to real quick say thank you all for coming and participating in this meeting today. I think it's great that the citizens are involved, that you're all involved and give us feedback, your concerns. I noticed most of my colleagues taking copious notes, and so we hope to address these. And I just wanted to say, about the Bandera Road project, I was doing some research on the history of traffic and where it comes from. And I will just tell you that, there's a long line of cars. It goes way back. But yeah, thanks again for everybody coming.
As you saw, it was 1.5 million people by the year 2047. So my solution is let's put up a no vacancy sign.
Isn't that kind of like what City of Austin did? They figured, hey, we're not going to build the infrastructure. We're not going to build all the roads, and so people will not move to Austin. That really worked, didn't it? My issue is with the short-term rentals. I would like us to see us pass an ordinance similar to the San Antonio ordinance. I think we need to have light regulation. I don't want heavy-handed regulation, but it would be nice to know who the actual owner of the property is. And my big thing is that property should pay the hot tax. Right now, the Airbnb, from my understanding, the Airbnb is collecting the 6% for the state portion. But nobody is collecting it for the city portion. And we have, we have the 3 motels that, they do pay the hot tax, but I believe the Airbnb should pay that. But I just want minimal regulation, let's not, go heavy-handed and, just my main thing is hot tax. And stop and think about it. Hot tax can be, there's limited things that hot tax can be used for. But city promotion is one of the items that it can be used for. What do we have every year? What's our big event of the year? 4th of July. Do you think we could use the hot tax to advertise and get people to come to our event? We have the Jazz Festival coming up in March. Do you think the hot tax could be used to promote that? Stop and think what we could do to promote our city with a hot tax. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, if there's no other questions, comments, remember as you go out, see William Long if you want some more information on SH16. Like one of the council members says, we've taken copious notes, and we will look at all of the results of the Mentimeter, and I'm sure we'll have it on a future agenda about how we're going to allocate the ARP funds. But anyway, thank you all so much. Thanks to the staff, thanks to the council, thanks to you for being here and giving us. And the staff will be around for a little bit if you have any further questions. But thank you all so much. Another great town hall meeting, and be safe.